Thank you. Thank you. My name's Dave Dean. I am the department chair for live productions, show production department on campus. And welcome to everybody on campus and also those watching online. I'm going to have the guests introduce themselves, starting with Susan.
Oh, pick the one that hasn't slept. Wait a minute. Hi, I'm Susan Rose, and I'm a lighting designer and director and programmer, and that's who I am.
I'm Sean Spuehler, and as far as touring goes, I tour with Madonna. I'm currently on a promo tour and about to do a world tour later this year.
My name's Leon Hopkins. I'm the road staff manager for Clair Global Sound Company.
Hi, I'm Charity Lomax, and I'm currently the production coordinator for the Eagles and the Black Keys.
Let's give them all a hand. The session today is titled Home is Where Your Head Lays, Life on the Road. And as you can tell, we've got some experienced road warriors here. And the first question I'm going to throw out is typical day to day. I know, Susan, you do LD for Ringo Starr, and you have experience also as an artist. Matter of fact, I remember mixing your band way back in the day. What's your typical day to day? What can a student expect when they get out there as far as hours?
It's interesting that I'm on this panel this morning, because I literally just got off tour with Ringo, and it's been nonstop. A day is actually really long days. It's not the party that you think it is in your head. You know, the glamorous life people see me put on Facebook of the selfies in front of the Eiffel Tower is the 1 hour of the afternoon I might have had off. It's usually about a 14 to 16 hour day, because with lighting, we're the first people off the truck because we have to get everything hung in everybody's way. And at night, we're also the last people back on the truck. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. If you need more than 8 hours of sleep in a week, which I've probably had maybe in the past week, it's definitely not the career choice that you might want to pursue. You get used to being in different time zones. I've been in 5 different time zones in the past 2 weeks. I don't even know what time it is right now, to be honest with you. And I'm lucky to know even where I am right now. But you might have a late show and an early lobby call for a flight, and you just get used to functioning on 3 or 4 hours of sleep at times and adjusting to different time zones. You know, when people say, oh, daylight savings time, that 1 hour time's killing me, I just laugh and go, that's just Thursday for me. 1 hour, oh, try 5, you know. The other day on the airplane, I have 3 different devices. We're all synced to different time zones. I had no idea really what time it was. They all had different times on them. But anyway, it's a long day. It's a lot of work. But it's very rewarding when that show starts and those house lights go down and you bring up that first cue. The career is very rewarding. I love traveling, but it is very, very long, hard days out there.
Susan, follow up. How different is it being an artist day to day to the crew? Like, what are the hours?
Very different. Put it this way. I mean, our tour might be a little different than some other tours, but like Ringo and the whole band, they charter everywhere. Even on our bus tours, they don't ride the bus. They fly everywhere and they usually get to the venue maybe a couple hours before the show for sound check. So they have the days off that they're all bored in their hotels, whereas we're loading in at 8 or 9 in the morning. So it's quite a different day for us because we're working the entire time. And like days off, like in the South American tour we just did, on days off, they're flying to the next city and hanging out on the beach in Rio for 2 days, and we're sitting in airports and shuttle vans and flying the whole day. So a travel day is not a day off. So I know it sounds a little bit like, ooh, this isn't very fun, but it is a fun career. It's just, yeah, I'm still waking up right now. So.
Thanks for being here. Sean, you were speaking earlier of doing some promo stuff with Madonna right now. What's your typical day to day?
Well, it's not as demanding as what Susan said, to be honest. But it's a lot of waiting because you're doing rehearsal, and when you're rehearsing, you kind of go in around 10:30, and you're working on stuff. she'll say she's there coming at 5. You never know if that's really the case. So you're basically waiting a lot, but when it happens, it's intense, and you're on the spot, and then it's over. Next thing you know, you can get back to the hotel pretty late, and they're just demanding. You just have to be really on when it happens. So regardless of the waiting, you can't let that get you down, and you have to be on when it's time to be on.
Thanks for coming in on your day off. Appreciate it. Leon, you're the staff coordinator for Clair Global, and you, I guess your day-to-day would be in the office these days. But
these days it is.
What can a new person just entering the field, what can they expect when they go work for Clair?
You know, it really, to be on the road in any capacity, it's a lifestyle change. You choose to do that knowing that you're going to be away from your home for days, weeks, months on end, which means, you might not get to your best friend's wedding in July. You could miss out on some personal life activities that some people might have that you wouldn't, because you can't just hop off a tour that's in Germany and come home to it. It's not practical. So you really make a lifestyle choice as well. And you live on a bus, you live in hotels, you travel. Not saying you don't get home, you get breaks, but when you have a break, it's only as long as it is to the next flight. So it's a constant rotation in your life to go from home to the road, and you spend, I think in the touring world, I would say that around 225 to 250 days a year would be an average year to be gone. I know I've personally done over 300, and it's very physically demanding at that point. Time zones, we're talking about, flying all over the world, can play havoc on your body, so you've got to be, stay healthy. But that's my take on just a general overview on what to expect.
Thanks, Leon. So you're the person in charge of putting crews together, and we all know that some people just don't get along. I'm interested to know how you go about putting together a crew for some pretty large clients that you guys do.
Well, first, in any kind of a development program, you really want to choose people that understand how to get along. I've said forever that people skills will probably outweigh your technical knowledge in many capacities. A little saying I always tell the new people is you'll never get sent home because you're terrible at audio. It doesn't work like that. There's the you got to have the ability to get with people. So you start there. You really want to have the right kind of folks. Yes, there's times when individuals may not work together well, but if you're a production team member and you're going to go into a new environment, think about it this way. You're not going to work with the same people every time you're out there doing a project. So you've got to get good at acclimating to anything that you get involved with. You're going to be around a whole new set of people for your whole career. And it doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter if you've been on the Rolling Stones or whatever. It doesn't matter. You've got to take what's in front of you and have, I call it like a little radar sense going about you, that you can get a feel for what's going on with the folks and how to work within the things that are in front of you and do a good job for the people you're working for.
Thanks, Leon. Charity, you're production coordinator for the Eagles right now on tour, and I'm sure that's a pretty big touring staff, and you're kind of the go-to person. Can you go over your basic day-to-day and some of the things that you deal with on a day-to-day basis?
Well, my day with the Eagles on a typical day, my day actually starts at 4:30 in the morning. That's my lobby call. First one in, last one out. And I'm pretty much in charge of all the logistics for the crew. So I have to deal with the 60-plus personalities, good or bad, getting them from point A to point B. And basically I come in different place every day, set up an office, make sure the internet works, make sure that if we're not on buses, that the cars are at the hotel to bring the crew in at the right time, and make sure that they know who's supposed to be in the car before they leave, and so on and so forth. And depending on the tour that I'm on, I have to take care of catering and make sure that, you know, this one, you know, has these allergies, and make sure that that's not in the food, and bus stock, and this, that, and the other. And then with the Eagles, each of the band members has road managers. So as soon as they come in, what do they need? And pretty much everything filters through me. You know, if I don't know it, I can usually figure it out or find someone that does. And then, you know, it's time for load out, pack it all up, do it again. And just, you know, send out the day sheet, let everybody know where they're going. And it's amazing how when people get on an airplane to start a tour, they lose all sense of taking care of themselves. And it's just like, tell me where I need to go, and that's what I do.
Yeah, I was amazed. Charity was saying how the Eagles do a 3-hour show.
Yeah.
So you've come up with some strategies for loadout and how to deal with getting in and out.
We have so much, it's crazy. It's a rock band, and an older rock band. We have so many wardrobe cases. Like, I think we're over more than a truck of wardrobe, because these guys have been doing it for so long. They want to see the room look the exact same way everywhere we go. So the beauty of this band is they don't hang out after the show. As soon as they get off stage, they get in a car. So about halfway through the show, when they take an intermission, we start loadout, because we've got so much stuff that's the first truck in, so it's also the first truck out, and we're just scrambling, pack everything up. And then for me, once the show's over, it's just a matter of waiting till the lights come down. And, you know, the riggers are done, and we just hop on the bus or get in the car and go back to the hotel, depending on the tour.
Thanks. I spend a lot of time with the students, and, you know, when they come to class, they're kind of excited about working with famous artists that they have on their bucket list. Susan, what advice would you have for a student? What advice do you have for conducting yourself around somebody pretty famous, maybe somebody you've idolized as a fan your whole life?
Well, you have to separate yourself from being a fan or a super fan to being their employee. Because, like, even me with Ringo, I think I've been with him for so long, for 12 years now, because I'm not a super fan. I respect him as an artist, but the one thing you do not want to do is gurm these artists. You don't want to go up to them and ask them for their autograph or ask them to sign something for your mom's hairdresser. I mean, there's certain etiquette that you do. You treat them like a person. And some artists, I mean, the artists I've worked with have been pretty cool where, you know, they did talk to you like normal people, but there are some artists out there that are pretty unattainable where you don't even speak to them. But I mean, it's just an etiquette thing, you know. Even if it happens to be your favorite singer you happen to work with, you don't want to go up to him and go, I have every one of your albums, I love you, can you sign this for me? That's a quick way to get booted off of a tour. And it's just respect the people that you're working for, and just treat them with respect that they're your authority. They're still your boss when it comes down to it, but you definitely, no matter how much of a fan you are, try to keep that separate, your personal life separate from your work life when you're working with these artists. I try to generally avoid the artists, to be honest with you, when I'm on a show. I just kind of stay out and hide behind the lighting console, because I don't want to get wrapped up in the drama and any of the stuff that might be going on with a band or with an artist. But just have respect. You can still be fans of them. You know, just don't disrespect your position and your title.
Thanks. Sean, you have kind of a unique situation where you're a studio guy as well as a composer, and you deal with artists on enclosed areas. What advice would you have?
I mean, as far as Madonna's concerned, we have a relationship because I'm mixing for her, so we have a banter. But generally speaking, it just what Susan said, you wouldn't want to just come up and speak to her or ask her for something. Pretty much, and I'm sure that goes across the board with other artists, that if they're going to speak to you, then you're ready and be respectful, but you certainly don't want to approach them if it's not necessary. And if there's something job related, then by all means, but you know, they have a lot on their plate. They're more than just trying to speak with people. They have a show that they're thinking about, and especially with her, the dancing, the stage, there's so much going on in her head. So If she speaks to you, that's great. But if not, then let her do her thing. And I imagine it's the same with Ringo and all the other artists.
Yep. Leon, you, as the Clair guy that puts the crews together, what do you send your guys and gals out? What kind of information do you give them pertaining to this, dealing with famous artists?
Well, in our initial training, we bring people in, and it's a big topic. How to act, what to do, how to resolve issues, how not to let things get blown out of shape, how to, when people get sent to the road from Clair, even if it's their first show, they should have a sense of how to, proper etiquette's a great word. I think that's a good way to put it, to know what to do when you get out there. That's kind of.
I know some artists have some pretty specific guidelines. What are some of the craziest?
Well, we
hard
do
to
try
deal
to
with?
get, I call intel on the mission we're going to go into. So the intel might suggest that, on days off you don't go hang out in a bar maybe, or you're around people and there's particular reasons maybe, but you want to understand the people you're working for, and we try to give people a heads up on, there could be political dynamics in a sound company. You could be around sound engineers or folks. Not everybody wants the same thing, in a production. When they create a production, they bring all these companies together. We might not be the first choice of everybody, but we might be there. So that can be a politically challenging situation. You need to know how to handle that. So that would be something I would want someone to know. That we just took over a tour, another sound company maybe got fired, or maybe, whatever, and we're walking into not necessarily a hostile environment, but kind of a little bit that way, and you got to understand these things going into it so that you're prepared mentally to know what you're walking into. That would be one I would think, you'd want to know.
So the students should be aware that it's a service industry.
Correct.
And that, I'm sure you guys warn them about, an artist may approach you and say, hey, come work directly for us.
I think here's how I look at it. If you really, really understand the industry, and if you were to do things kind of proper within the guidelines all the time, some of these outside elements wouldn't really matter, right? If you need to be told all the time there's something up to be prepared for, then maybe you're not prepared. Maybe you should be good at what you do, have the right skill set, and no matter what environment you get thrown into, what if I can't talk to somebody, or what if you showed up on a plane from another tour? If you're intuitive on how to do your job, you probably, if you're good at it, you probably won't need a lot of prompting.
Good point. Charity, so speaking of politics, there's actually a hierarchy, kind of layers of people. Could you elaborate on that as far as dealing with artists and people maybe above you a couple of levels? Because I know students are going to go out. They're not going to be the front of house or the tour manager right out of school. So can you elaborate on that?
It varies from tour to tour, but I mean, you've got your artists, and then there's management plays sort of a part of that, depending on how involved management is when you're on the road. And then you have maybe a road manager for that artist, and they're the ones responsible from getting them from place to place, day to day. And then you have your tour manager and your production manager, who basically are running the show. And it varies from tour to tour who might actually be the one running the show, but usually it's the tour manager is sort of the top layer. And from there it filters down to, I would say maybe me. You've got your stage manager, you've got your front of house engineer and your monitor engineer, and all of these people definitely play a key role. And usually sort of the rule of thumb is if you have a problem, you go to whoever your crew chief is before you start going to your production manager. You usually try to keep, if you have problems, you usually try to keep everything within your department. I should never hear that audio's got a problem. Like, if I found out about it, it should have already been resolved. It should never filter up the chain. And I will say this about Clair. I mean, some of the best crews, most of the tours that I do, we have a Clair crew. And usually all of their stuff, if there's any issues, I usually never hear about it because they're very, very good at training their people.
Awesome.
Thank you for that.
Nice plug.
Very kind of you.
Nice plug.
So along those lines, I've experienced. I keep in touch with the students after they graduate, and I've had a few stories I could tell where the student gets a really cool gig, getting ready to go out on a big tour, and then they kind of get friendly with the band, not necessarily the head artist, and they start hanging out with the band. And do you have any advice or warnings? Any of the panel? Let's start with Susan.
Well, once again, it's etiquette. I do hang out with some of our band guys, but I've become friends with them over the years. But it's not that I approach them. If like I think when you were saying earlier, if they approach you to speak to you, great, have a conversation with them. I don't go above and beyond and go, hey, you guys, you want to come out and have a drink tonight? Or you want to go do this tomorrow? I don't do that. But yet, if they invite you to a dinner, hey, you want to come with us? There's nothing wrong with going. It's one of those things you got to make a judgment call. Once again, it's just I keep going back to the etiquette thing. You know, they're people just like us. I mean, if you do become friends with them, that's great. You're not, just don't try too hard. Don't like, oh my God, I'm going to try to get in this camp. You don't want to like try to force yourself into their circle because they are a different breed than us. We're the production crew, they're the artists, and you want to respect that. But over the years, you work with a band long enough, you're going to become friends with them. So there are times, even a couple weeks ago, the band invited me to dinner with them in one of the hotels, and I said, I'd love to come, you guys, and it was a great dinner, but I still sat there, believe it or not, gift of gab, kind of quiet, and just kind of listened to them share their stories, and I'd chime in once in a while if they said something to me, but it's just, once again, just respect the people that you're working for, and don't try to, you know, intentionally force yourself on them so you can hang with the band, you know, if that makes sense.
Anybody else have anything to add to that?
I'll say I'll definitely echo that, and it's interesting too from my perspective. I also go out of my way to not meet the artist if I don't have to, because once they know who you are, they want things. Then it becomes, well, what charity can you do? Because it's just, you know, you're, once again, it comes back to you, and it's just like, and you're right. Don't try to force yourself, you know, or insert yourself into these situations. Like I did the Black Keys last year, and I love them. And it was just interesting I had kind of dealt with them on a different level because I was doing the dressing rooms at the time, but I would hear all the guys in the crew talking about how they, you know, one particular band member was a certain way, and I'm like, no, he's just not trying to hang out, and just respect that. Like you know, one of the guys is the guy who'll come up to you in catering and hang out with you, and the other guy is just here to do a show. He's thinking about songs, and just doesn't mean that he's a jerk. He's just, guess what? You still have a job, so you must be doing okay. He's not that much of a jerk, but just respect that that's who they are and that's what they do, and just enjoy the music. I mean, I think that's why we all got into it. You get to see the show every day. Just be happy with that.
Susan, you said you came in on the red eye. Traveling is a big part of a freelancer's life. And have you come up with survival skills as far as flying and dealing with planes, trains, and automobiles? Do you have anything to tell the students who are about to embark on maybe 150,000 miles in the air?
Yeah, I mean, you get used to, you break your sleep pattern because you got to remember you're in different hotel beds or different bus beds or on airplanes a lot. If your body's used to a sleep schedule, throw it out the window because you're not ever going to have one again. You learn to sleep when you can. Over the years, your body kind of gets conditioned to it, to adapting to different time zones, to taking advantage. Like this morning, I didn't get it. I was at USITT yesterday, and I didn't get into my hotel room until almost 1 last night. And I had to be up at 3:30 to get on a flight to come here and literally get out of the car and come straight to this lecture. So, but you learn to kind of try to sleep on a plane. I take things like those little neck pillows. I look like the biggest dork on a plane, but I don't care. I'm tired, you know. But I have those little U-shaped like neck pillows, and I have my little Bose headphones to cancel out some of the noise. And literally, I'm usually asleep half the time before the plane even takes off. I've learned how to try to sleep on planes. You make the most out of what sleep you can get. Buses I actually sleep great on, be honest with you, because they're dark and they're cold and you pull your little coffin curtain shut. But you maximize what sleep you can get. Don't go out, if you know you have to work, it's a school night, don't be partying the night before and come in hungover the next morning. It's going to make it even worse. And plus, it's unprofessional, too. But I just try to maximize what sleep I can and not even really think about the time zone, because you're going to have to adapt quickly to time zones. So if daylight savings does bother you guys, just once again, don't get used to that either, because I was in South America where I was 2 hours ahead, then I went of Eastern time, and the next 2 days later I was in California that was 3 hours behind, and I go back to Vegas this Monday where I'm 3 hours behind, then I go to Hawaii that's 6 hours behind. This is all within a 2-week time span. So you just kind of, and Charity can kind of relate to this too, you just don't even think about it. You get to where you're going, ask what time it is, set your watch, set your phone, and off you go. Don't even think about, oh God, I just lost an hour of sleep. I mean, you can't. You have no other choice but to function. So yeah, just maximize your sleep time when you can get it, even if it has to be on a plane or in an airport. But you're not going to get a lot of it.
Sean, you have any?
Yeah, you're gonna. Busing is the way to go. You're gonna love it. It's great. Definitely overflying, and it's funny.
Yes.
Charity and I, just a big number one tip is no number twos on the bus. You always got that is a no. You'll get chastised, and so just tell your driver, pull over, and then do your thing.
Yes, that is the cardinal rule on a tour bus.
But the bunks are like the womb. You have that low end rumble of the bus. You can just close the curtain and sleep like a baby and wake up in another city. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, bus tour over a flying tour any day.
Yeah.
I think I miss sleeping on buses, actually. It was really a wonderful. I always tell people, you only have 2 arms. Just carry 2 things, because a lot of times you got to go through the airport and you're in a hurry, and you want to be slick and fast, Might mean you have to do your laundry on days off. Might have to go to the local laundromat and chunk some quarters in there. I remember doing that quite a bit. And then a little thing I tell, I get into these discussions with some of our new employees. I go, okay, you're going to England. What's different? And they're like, well, the voltage is different. Well, it's 50 hertz. And I'm like, hey, man, bring a raincoat. You're doing outdoor gigs over there. You know what I mean? Mother Nature will play havoc on you. You got to be prepared. So you're going to go do an outdoor stadium tour. You want to have some rain gear or something you could, because you might be working in the rain for a little while.
And speaking of power, definitely get a power adapter that has all the different European plug settings.
Yeah, there's for the hotels and stuff.
Amen to that. Crew doesn't check bags most of the time, right?
Yeah.
No, well, you know what? It's funny because my guys pay for everything. You can bring 2 bags, but I will tell you this: when you do your first tour, unpack it and get rid of half of it, because you're going to end up wearing the same stuff every day. You're carrying all of this extra crap that you're never going to wear. All those books you think you're going to. Well, at this point, everybody's got Kindles, but. I brought a gang of stuff and didn't use any of it. And it's just, you're going to be so busy, especially when you're starting out. You're not going to necessarily be doing like the huge tours. You're going to be doing rock bands that do 4 or 5 in a row and just forget about days off. And just, it's all going to be about getting your rest and just getting up and doing your work. So don't overpack. Even though I still do it, I say to you, don't.
Plus, the less you pack, the more room you have to all the crap that you end up buying on the tour.
Exactly.
Not that I ever do that.
That's one of the cool things about touring, right? You get to see all these great places.
Yeah.
So I find some of the crew members are, hide in the room and sleep. Are any of you tourists? Do you like to get out and check out what's going on?
Huge.
I'm the selfie
Susan?
queen. I am one of those people, if I have an afternoon free or I'm lucky to have a day off, I will be on the little double-decker tour bus with the headphones and the map and the cameras. I go see, and we're getting paid to see the world. And there are some of our guys in our crew that are a little jaded. They'd rather just order room service or go to McDonald's and sit in their room all day. And to me, I want to try the local foods. I don't even eat in chain restaurants, especially overseas. I want to try the local foods.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see the local culture. I want to go play tours and see at least what is around my hotel. Always be safe and aware, too, of your surroundings. But I usually ask the concierge at the hotel what's good to see, you know. But I am definitely the biggest tourist.
Followed by me.
We should tour together.
I know we should. I'm like talking to myself down there. I just came from Australia. I flew in yesterday, and I've been there 5 or 6 times. And I will say this, don't ever take it for granted. When I get that itinerary, I'm already thinking, okay, I want to go to that restaurant in that city, I remember that, or what didn't I do the last time that I was here, and try to make it different. You know, yes, it's the Eiffel Tower. It's been photographed a million times, but how can you photograph it different? I always look at it like I might not ever come back here again. And once again, we're getting paid to be here. Just make the most of it. Don't take it for granted, and have fun. I mean, it is fun as much as it's so much work. It is so much fun.
Did you do the Byron Bay bugs?
I did. I did the bug. I ate my way and drank my way, because wine is great, through Australia. I partook.
Fisherman's Wharf in Sydney.
Yeah, I was at the wharf having lunch.
Sean, what's one of the coolest places you got to see on the road?
Wow. God, there's so many. I love Japan so much. It's just the best because it's foreign. I mean, you go through Europe and see some beautiful cities and cities all around the world, but they all speak English, generally speaking. But Japan just is foreign and beautiful, and I love food as well. So that's one of the best things you were saying. You can check out the local spots and then go into a Japanese restaurant there. They don't speak English, and you're just pointing. It's kind of cool.
They're notoriously meticulous on their stage plot preparation, too.
Oh. Literally, they are so precise that in your lighting, like your lighting, sound, whatever the rig, they will take pictures of it. And if they're setting it up for you the next day, you'll walk in, it's set up. Even if you have a cord that had a knot in it by accident, you'll come and that knot will be in it. I'm not kidding. It was so nice to walk into these venues because we weren't touring with a lighting package over there. And like we had the same vendor for like 3 shows in a row. And by the time I got to the 3rd show, I walked in and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go take a walk. I mean, they even focused the rig. I mean, they're so like perfection, you know, very, very precise over there. Have you experienced that as well?
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see the stage get mic'd up, and they'll put labeling on in the Japanese writing, of course, and I'm looking at direct boxes and microphones, and I don't know what it says, but it's correct, you know. They know what it says, and they understand it, and they really take a lot of pride. That culture is so interesting in that respect. They take so much pride in doing it right. They feel bad if they mess it up. You have to like pick them up. Hey, it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, this cable and this cable, we'll just do that, and we're good. And they just hang their head, and you know, but you know, you respect people that. I mean, you learn from that experience. You respect people that care that much about, and that's how you want to be. So it's kind of a lesson in itself, isn't it, really?
Work ethic's amazing over there.
There's something else in it.
So we're given, I'm sorry, did you have
Well,
something
no, I
to
was
say?
just going to say one thing. When we were talking about Japan, I think it's also important to respect the culture of
Yes.
where you are. Not everybody's, you know, like us. Not everybody's it's open and friendly, but I think that's definitely a really, really good thing to consider is to kind of respect the culture and try to learn the basics. The hellos, the thank yous, the goodbye will take you so far on the road.
And hand signals.
Yes.
Stage right, stage left.
I once,
really
I
good
was in
broken
Brazil and went around making a certain hand gesture that eventually I was told it was a very unacceptable.
So you have to study a little bit on that, right?
So speaking of awesome places like Japan, technically speaking, what are some of the scariest places you've been? And also, how do you deal when you're going to another country, you're doing production, obviously maybe it's not what you're used to with Clair or any of the large companies in this country. How do you deal with, some of the train wrecks you guys walk into internationally, considering the culture and all involved?
I think you just got to be prepared for all that. I don't think you look at it like, well, yeah, there's some places that are tough to tour, you know, for various reasons, but every country's different. So when you're touring, you learn how to, okay, I'm going to South America, I'm going over here. It's a little different, and maybe you think ahead how you can deal with that. Instead of looking at it like, oh, that's a horrible place, you might look at it like that's a different place. I'm just taking the high road here, guys. But,
And also, I would put your bags probably where Charity's office would be, because
where
they will get
everybody's
stolen,
at.
and I got my iPad stolen in Mexico City. Assholes.
Yeah. Yeah. He's right. I
You
mean,
have a
we have
computer lock.
security.
You know, computer locks. I mean, utilize that stuff because it's easy for the stuff to walk away, especially in third world countries where they know no different. So they will steal your iPads and your laptops and anything that's sitting out. So just be very, very aware of your circumstances and listen to, even ask the local crew, is it safe here? Because I mean, there's places, especially, this in South America. This is my third time down in South America, but there's a lot of dangerous areas down there, especially for somebody that sticks out like a sore thumb, like a tourist. And, you know, it's just, you have to be really aware of your surroundings. But I always lock my computer. I even have a little lock on my computer bag to lock the zippers shut. And then I have a computer lock that I'll actually wrap through my computer bag too if I happen to be out front of house or something. Just, you can't be too safe because the stuff will walk away very, very easily.
And just even safe with your person, like just be careful, because I know for me, I was so excited to travel that I went to Egypt. And as soon as we hit the ground, I was like, all right, I'm pyramids. And I went running out the door, and my friend was like, do you even have any local currency? I was like, no, loan me some money. And I went running out the gate, and as soon as I walked out, people were like, all over me. Do you want to do this? You want to? And I'm like, okay, this is probably not smart for me. I don't know where I am. I don't have any money. I don't have anybody with me. Nobody knows where I'm going. Just be smart when you get out there, because you might just be in England, but it's like, just be smart.
Carry a copy of your passport with you.
Yes.
Keep your passport locked up, whether it's your laptop bag or whatever, but typically, just like Charity was just saying, in these countries you don't think. Sometimes you just hop into a cab inadvertently, and some of these countries it's very dangerous to get into a random cab unless the hotel specifically recommends them. If I do go by myself somewhere, I always tell somebody where I'm going. I always tell somebody on my crew, hey, I'm gonna go to this mall, I'm gonna go for a walk, just so somebody knows where I am. Not every place takes credit cards. Don't assume. You'll go up to some of these local vendors to buy some little trinket and it's cash only and their currency. So, it's just little things you have to think about when you are going out just to be safe. But I always carry an alternate form of ID. I'll keep one credit card and my passport in my room, and I'll carry maybe a driver's license or another form of ID and a copy of my passport with me, because you never know, you're in a foreign country. So, I mean, there's little things like that. If something happens, at least you've got some kind of identification on you. And pickpocketing is very big, so you just be smart. Don't have things hanging out, your phone's hanging out and your money hanging out of your pocket, stuff like that.
So preparation is a good idea. Make sure you have a passport before you graduate. Very important.
Yeah.
Yes, have a passport.
And the currency exchange rate apps are pretty cool today
Yep.
too. They're
Yeah.
lifesavers.
Dollar strong right now.
So Charity mentioned Egypt. One of my scariest places was El Salvador. And can you tell us some of your scary places you've been to?
Yeah, they haven't been that scary. Montenegro, I know it was definitely kind of crazy. The hotel was definitely gangster. But yeah, I'd just say that, I mean, it sounds like we're scaring you, and it's just basically be careful, but you'll have so much fun because you just, a small amount of research, being smart, making sure people know exactly what they're saying. And then you get to, hang out in Moscow, or you get to hang out, I mean, it's awesome.
So on a health level, there's some places where, we've all heard about certain countries where you don't want to drink water. What other, and I know some of you like to taste the local food, and that can get you in trouble as well.
I just wanted to say, I used to be scared to go home. So I like the road so much. Okay, on to the next one.
So yeah, along those lines, personal life, when you're out on the road for a long time, do you guys find it hard to adjust to being home? I've had friends of mine say, man, I'm 3 days and I'm done. I want to go back out.
I get a lot of calls from people that, it's been 10 days. Don't I have to go somewhere, And it does get in your blood. It's when you really enjoy it, you'll want to be there all the time, And the only downside to that is you do need a break. I mean, I recommend that everybody, you don't just have to drop your life. You know, you can still, you know, have things in life that you want to accomplish other than work. But it's just a little bit harder. And I always recommend to our road people, I can tell when they're tired, and I can tell, you know, they've been back to back on some tours. I'm like, you know, why don't you just, can you just chill out for a couple weeks, and maybe you need to recoup. Why don't you go, you know, go hang out with your pet dog or do something, you know. And I think it's just a healthy way to be. So you do want to try to balance it. When you get into the real groove of touring, it's pretty hard to do sometimes, but you can do it. And it just happens when it can happen. You can't plan it all the time, you know. So.
I'd like to chime in on the health thing.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Down in foreign countries, especially South America, Mexico, you just mentioned, always drink bottled water. If you drink ice, make sure the ice cubes, this is going to sound crazy, but the ice cubes are round with a little hole in the middle. It means it's been filtered. You don't want to drink the ice because a lot of times they bring the fish in on the ice, and that's the ice they put in the drinks. And it's not just the water that'll make you sick. Salads, fruits, vegetables that are washed and rinsed in that same water will make you sick. And there's this little thing called Montezuma's Revenge
It's awesome.
that we all met a couple weeks ago. And it's not fun. And you want to carry with you, I call it a little travel pharmacy. Bring with you, you know, ibuprofen, Imodium, heartburn stuff, you know, cold medicine, because when you're in a foreign country, there's not just a Walgreens run down the street to all the time. And you probably don't want to get treated by a doctor down there either. So I usually just carry a little pack. I even go to my doctor and get a couple antibiotics to take with me just in case I get a sinus infection or something. But once again, be aware, because drinking water in these foreign countries, it's not filtered like it is here. And even if you're on a bus, I'll use a bottled water for my toothbrush.
Oh, yeah.
Little things like that. You don't want,
drink the
'cause
bus water.
don't assume the water is clean when you go to these places. But think about ice in your drinks. Think about lettuce and salads, because that's all washed in that same water. And you'll learn the hard way. Because I did. I forgot one day and ate a salad, and well, let's just say it wasn't very fun. But seriously, think about these things, because when you're in a foreign country, like I said, there's not a Walgreens or a Walmart right down the street. So just bring you a little travel pack of stuff you know you might need, just to get you through if you do get sick on the road, because it's not fun being sick. Even having a cold on the road, it goes around the bus really quick. You've probably experienced that. And have some NyQuil and, you know, whatever allergy medicine, because you're exposed to different climates and different allergens if you have allergies like I do. So bring Zyrtec or whatever. So I mean, just simple things like that. You're going to bring a little mobile pharmacy with you.
Or come to my office, because I have
Yeah.
everything. And
I mean,
that's
it's legal pharmacy,
yes,
okay?
Yes, legal pharmacy. And that's the other thing. If you do get sick on the road, I think a lot of times, especially when you're younger and when you're new, everybody wants to suck it up because you're on the road, and you might have your other crew guys telling you, be tough. If you are not well, let someone know. Come to the production office, even if not every production office is the same. Not all of them are as inviting. My production office, you could hang out in there for as long as you want. And a lot of productions aren't like that. But if you are not well, don't feel like you have to suck it up. Tell someone, your crew chief or your production manager, whatever, and you'll get taken care of. Don't feel like you can't do that.
Yeah, keep yourself hydrated.
Yeah.
Even though you're sick, they'll still make you do.
Well, you know, it's funny, if they're giving you free water in the hotel, that means that you're not supposed to drink that out of the tap. So that's my rule of thumb. If there's a free bottle of water next to my room,
Hint, hint.
then drink it.
Yeah.
We always bring tote bags inside our bags and get a couple extra bottles
Oh,
to
yeah, when
carry
you
around.
at the gig,
It's also a great strategy.
take you the water.
So, as far as traveling around the world, has there been any situations that you've witnessed historically, or any happy accidents that you'd like to share with us?
I've got something that has to do with international travel. You have to cross customs borders into countries, right? And that's. I just think back in the day, it seemed things are different now. When you're crossing borders, know where you're going. Like when you know the hotel maybe you're going to, have a timeline of when you're leaving the country. Kind of know these things in your head, and also you just tell the customs people the the truth why you're there. And the reason I say that there's a lot of situations come up where you can't get a work visa, right? So you got to go to certain countries, and all of a sudden you got a last-minute plane trip to go to some country, and you don't have a work visa. And you're going to hear people go, well, you know, you just kind of tell them you're a tourist. And I'm telling you right now, don't do that. And 40 years ago, maybe, but not anymore. And you know, it's just not the right thing to do to begin with. But when you are mano a mano with a customs agent and you tell them what the situation is, you'd be amazed at how they kind of want to help you once they know. What's real bad is if you tell them something different because some, you know, production person thought maybe that's what you ought to do, to tell them you're coming on different pretenses, right? And then they see your toolbox with you know what I mean? It just be upfront. That's just a good old-fashioned honesty policy anyway. But I think what you'll find is it's in the traveling world today of going through immigrations, know a few things where you're going, have a couple of facts in your head, just be upfront with the people, tell them what you're doing. And if there's a problem, like, well, you know, you're not on a work manifest, a lot of times they'll just duck you off into a side room and have you fill out some paperwork, and it might cost you $150 or something, you know, which you can get reimbursed usually. But, you know, I'm just giving you, it happens. I get, you know, people in situations, they go, what do I do here? And I would tell them the same thing. Just go tell them what you're doing. Well, the company put me on an airplane last minute. I'm going to the UK. I don't have a work permit. And I've never seen anybody sent home, turned around in the customs environment, you know, because of that. Just tell them what you're doing. That's my tip of the day for immigration.
I'll say this too. I had a situation where we were coming out of Canada, and technology, man, it'll catch up to you. And my artist was not honest. You know, he was getting an O1 visa. He was from England. And when he got up there, he's like, no, I'm not performing with the artist that I was with. And the lady's like, okay. He's like, no, I'm just hanging out. You know, I sit in with him a couple of times. She went on YouTube. She's like, well, what is this? So you're just saying, like, all of these videos of him performing with this artist. And the customs agent, the immigration agent came on, and she's like, I'm ready to put him on a plane back to England. And she's like, you tell me that because we were coming back into the States and we had to do Jay Leno. Tell me that he is not doing Jay Leno, because if he shows up on that performance, I will lose my job. And I can promise you, because I have the emails from Jay Leno, because he didn't have a visa, he couldn't perform on the show. But he almost got sent home for just not being honest. So that's definitely, you know, when it comes to anything immigration related, even from my perspective, because I'm the one that does all your paperwork, if you have anything on your record, be honest about it. Because there's plenty of people, trust me, on the road who have records. And, you know, there's just maybe a little extra paperwork you have to fill out. But you just got to be honest, because you don't want to be the one when you hit that border in Canada and your whole bus is sitting for hours because you didn't tell the truth. And that is huge. And you know what? You might end up losing your job as a whole for not being honest.
You never get sent home because you're bad at audio in our country.
Yeah, exactly.
But to that point, if you have even a DUI, Canada becomes an
it's
issue.
huge.
It's very hard, and there's ways around that, but it's, you know, with attorneys, it's complicated. Sometimes you have to get a temporary resident visa at the border, but you don't, like, you know, you're right, you don't want to hold up the rest of the camp. So you got to think about these things, you know, very important.
Little things too. Normally the tours will give you a production book that has your itinerary and the addresses where you're going. And like on the customs forms, when you're going through customs, there's questions you have to answer, and some are like, what's the address that you're going to? And you think, well, I'm on a tour. I don't know. I'm on a bus. They don't want that answer. Just look in your book, and there's usually a hotel name. All they want really is to know that you're going to somewhere.
Yeah.
And you just write, I'm going to the Hyatt in Ukraine. They're like, okay, what are you here for? Doing a show? Okay. And once again, being honest, you know, even declaring things. If you bought some souvenirs, declare it, whether it's souvenirs, whatever you bought, because you'd rather tell them and say, oh, you can't bring this in, rather than you not tell them and then they put it through the x-ray machine and they find it, including fruits and vegetables. That's a big no-no for some countries. Was it Australia or New Zealand? One of those countries that you can't bring fruits in, and
It's New Zealand, and it's
promoter.
an automatic 400. They give you all these different checkpoints to declare it, And then you get to the very last one, and it's like, here's your last option, to throw it away. And it's an automatic $400 fine.
Our promoter got hit with that because when you're in catering, a lot of times, especially when you're working overnight or programming overnight, you tend to grab stuff and throw it in your bag just to munch on later. Well, you forget it's there. I found, candy bars from 2 years ago in there, But our promoter apparently had done that at some point, had an orange that had dried up, was like more just petrified at this point, in the bottom of his bag. We get to New Zealand, we're like, where's our promoter at? He got dinged with $400.
Honey is another one. Honey is organic. You can't bring honey into certain places, and New Zealand's one of them. And it will be confiscated.
Yeah, read the forms, and if you have this stuff in your bag and you get there, throw it away. Just throw it out or tell them, hey, I got this, sorry, and they'll just take it. But it's better than lying about it, because if you get caught with it, then if you're honest, they're just going to take it from you. But if you're not, it can be a pretty severe penalty.
And I will not reimburse you, for the record.
Look at it this way. You're an immigrations person. Swap your role. They're looking for such different problems in the world today of people traveling. So when you're up front with them, it's not, now you're one-on-one with the individual to work through your particular issue, if you have one. And most of the time, there's not an issue. Most tours are very good about getting your Australian visas, and it doesn't happen that much. It can come up, and I'm only telling you, if it does come up, here's how you handle it, okay?
Thank you, guys. Great discussion. At this point, we're going to open it up for Q&A. If you have a question in our audience, Mike will find you. Just raise your hand. And online, if you hit up the moderator, then they'll take care of you. So, any questions?
First on the mic, woohoo! I hope if it's not too personal, I was just curious about you guys' families. Do you guys have kids or significant others?
Yeah, it's really hard with kids because you are definitely away. Thank God for FaceTime and Skype, but it's still very difficult. So you just try and see them as much as you can, and there's not much to say other than it's really hard. It's much harder on my wife than it is on me, because she's the one having to take care of the kids all the time. But that's part of the sacrifice, and that's something you really need to think of and talk about with your partner or wife or husband.
As a female, definitely, it's something you need to think about. I don't have any kids. I have about 60 of them that are called the crew, but now as a woman, it's definitely, you have to, it's a career choice. It's a life choice, to be quite honest, and no regrets on my part.
I think her and I are from sisters from another mother. I agree. I have cats. I don't think the state would appreciate me leaving litter and food for a kid, so I stick with cats. And but Skype helps in this business if you do have a relationship. Nowadays, it's a lot different than it was 20 years ago, because video chat's amazing. Skype, FaceTime, whatever you want to use, it does help. But yeah, especially, as she was just saying, especially being a woman, it's very hard to maintain a relationship. And I've chosen, a career that is challenging. It can't. I'm not saying it can't be done, and it can be if you have a partner that understands what you're doing and you have the communication with Skype and stuff, But
yeah, there's people that, when I was on the road, most of the time I was, didn't have family members, but there's been people many times have raised children and had a long career, and it's a very mutual, amicable thing between husband and wife, how life's going to be, and when they're together, they go on vacations, have a great time, and then one of the partners is off working, and it's a travel industry if you think about it. It's not a whole lot different than, maybe people in an airline industry. Well, it is probably different, but it's a travel industry of maximum travel. You're going to be gone a lot, but it can work. It's a definite thing you need to think about. To focus on yourself and what you're doing career-wise it takes a lot of energy, to get yourself off the ground and get going.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mike. I was wondering, you guys were talking about how you got to travel to other cities and countries and stuff, and I was wondering, how much time do you have exactly, either before or after a show, to spend exploring the city? and getting to take advantage of everywhere you get to go?
Depends on the tour. I mean, I'm fortunate. I work for a band that's a little bit older, and they play every instrument, sing every note, so they can only do but so many shows. Like the tour that we just left Australia, and you got to fly everywhere, and it takes so long for the year to get there. So we usually have a lot of days off. I mean, I probably, sometimes I'll even actually fly early just to get a little vacation in the beginning. But depending on the artist that you're working for and how many shows you do a week, and depending on what your job is, as far as trying to do it within a work day, it all really depends. But it's just about being smart with your time and maximizing it. But it really just depends on who you're working for.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I have probably more time than most, so I definitely take advantage of it. And you get to see cities all over the world, but it depends when the shows are, if they're close together. Some cities you go in, do the show, and then you just take off. Other cities you go in, you have a couple days off, so it just depends on the schedule. But, being able to see some cities, it works out. It's great.
Yeah, you might go from Paris to Munich overnight, never see either city.
Never see the outside.
Never see the outside of the arena, and the inside of the bus is what you saw for the last 56 hours, And that's just part of it. And then you might be on a tour, if you're around long enough, on another point in time when maybe it does work out. But, it happens when it can. And itineraries dictate that.
What they said.
Hi, good morning. My question is, what would be your 3 unconventional must-haves when you're on the road?
Flip-flops. And let me tell you why. You don't always have the luxury of a hotel to shower in. You're showering in venues, dressing rooms, locker rooms, nasty showers. When you're a girl and you're the last one in the shower and 10 guys have gone before you. So I'm serious. Bring flip-flops for the showers.
That is, yeah, I'll definitely echo that. Doesn't seem like a big deal until you have something growing on the bottom of your foot.
Oops.
Yeah. You know what? I love tea. I mean, it doesn't sound that unconventional, but I love it so much that, I've got my own kettle. I've got a little airtight, container. I've got my own cup. For me, I think it's things that make me, as much as I love to travel, there's something said about being home and the things that make you feel like you're at home. And I think those things, whatever matters to you, just those little things can really make the difference when you're away. Even if you're not in a relationship, home is still home and you're not there. And whatever makes you feel comfortable, whatever that is, bring it with you.
Sunflower seeds.
Also a small backpack, because you don't necessarily want to be lugging your 50-pound suitcase in and out of these venues to go take your shower at the night. What I normally do is I have a backpack that has my little toiletries in it with my toothbrush and some soap for the shower, because there's not a hotel, like I said, there's not going to be nice little things of soap and shampoos in these showers. So you want to bring, some soap, some shampoos. I'll normally pack my buswear in the backpack, maybe the next day's clothes in it. That way I can just bring my backpack in, take my shower, and go back out. I'm not lugging these luggage in there. My flip-flops will be in there. Everything that I need for a shower, that you would want for a shower, bring it with you, because you're not going to have that luxury of having that in there. Now, the venue usually provides you towels. But other than that, just little things like that. But I suggest a small backpack, because it saves you having to lug that luggage up and down stairs backstage and stuff like that.
Bring a wine opener.
Yes. And a bottle opener.
Oh, yeah.
Pistachios if you have a lot of PD left.
It's into the nuts.
Hi, I have a question from the online feed from Zhang. He would like to know, when you travel to another country, do you work with local teams to help with the tour? If so, how do you recruit them and make those connections with them?
Was it local crews? Local crews. Oh, yeah, it's the same as when you're here. It's just the promoter provides it of the building, and usually you're traveling with depending on if it's a small thing or if it's a full-blown tour, you might have just a scaled-down crew and just everything else is brought in, and it's just local people, and that's done with the promoter or the building.
Hopefully they speak English, but
Yeah,
sometimes
you'll have a translator.
Sometimes you
hopefully.
feel guilty because they can speak English,
and you don't
So you
speak their
breathe,
language.
you'll learn Portuguese or Spanish pretty fast.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Bad
German's
versions.
amazing.
Hi. So I was just wondering if anyone ever tries to arrange tours so that you didn't have to go from like country to country, and then, just to make it easier for everyone to travel. Is that possible?
Could be economics,
Yeah.
but I've done 6 shows in 7 days on 3 continents, and everything had to air freight. You just didn't sleep that week. You had to put everything on an airplane. It's nuts. Some of the scheduling. I think anymore people are a little more. The productions and the artists are definitely more sensitive to what makes sense to get people from here to there. People can't afford to, these big cargo planes anymore, and freight's very expensive. So there's logistics enters into why it is as it is. So by default, I think scheduling doesn't mean in the United States you won't have some long overnighters, or if you have a 500-600 mile overnight drive, even in the States, can be a tough day because the bus might not show up till 10 a.m. and you're usually rigging at 7. So now your day's compressed. That's part of it. You're going to have that. As far as international bouncing around, it is what it is. I think people try to make it sensible, at least.
And I think also one of the things to consider as well, or that is considered, is sports. Especially in America, you're subject to whatever's happening with hockey. Basketball is happening at the same time, so a lot of times your schedule is dictated by what sports are going on, and you have to work. I mean, you might look at the map and see, well, why are we going from here to here to here? Why don't we just, do something that seems more logical? But it's because the building wasn't available that day. It's available on this day, and it's affordable for us to make that routing. Sometimes it doesn't look like it makes sense, but there's usually a scheduling thing, with the building.
There's always a bigger picture to the whole scheme.
Yeah.
Always.
Hi. I just had a question about like being at home, or like when you're on the road. How do you take care of the stuff at home and make what would you do in preparation before going out on tour?
Bill pay.
Yeah, that came to my
Online
mind
bill
too.
pay.
Yeah, bill pay.
How to take care of mail and bills.
Yeah, and just having someone, I can tell you from my own experience, having someone, if you live alone, as I do, having someone go by your house. I mean, I actually had someone break into my house. I came home from tour and someone had broken into my house. But, let your friends know that you're going to be gone. Have them swing by and just make sure everything's okay. And yeah, bill pay is huge, because then you don't have to worry about it.
I think when I started, I had a small vehicle that I put everything I owned in it, and I parked it in a storage place. And then I'd go to the airport, and then when I got out of the airport, I'd go get my vehicle, drive away, and go to someone's couch. That's how I started, hanging out with friends. But you do want to be very, the bill thing is huge, I think, just to know that you can take care of things in your own personal life. And having somebody watch your back a little bit's not a bad idea. A friend, a parent,
I mean, I'm in a different boat because I have a wife. But I will say this, I am so jealous. There are some of the younger crew guys and gals that can, if it's a long tour, they will stop running their apartment and be not having to pay rent for a whole tour. Is just amazing. If you're able to do that in the beginning, by all means. I mean, I'm very jealous of them.
I just bill pay. I have, obviously, people, if you are living alone, have somebody check your house. Check your mail, bring your mail in. If the company offers direct deposit, do a direct deposit. They won't have to worry about depositing your checks. But the bill pay is the biggest thing. It makes life a lot easier. That's really my only.
I think it was 4 or 5 years when I got into touring, I decided that I wanted to have an apartment or rent something, because I felt like I didn't have a home for a while. It was kind of, you're just out there, and I think it was a good mental connect for me to know I actually own a bed and a pillow back in Texas, and I'm going to get there one day. So I mean, it was kind of to me it was a mindset thing as well. But as you progress, and everyone's going to start out making money and trying to increase their worth with a company or an artist and do better. When you do better, you can do more things, obviously, but be careful what you ask for, I guess, too. But, you know, you want to, it is a lifestyle, and you try, if you get one thing out of this whole thing, it's how you have to alter things in your own life to make it work out, you know, and it's a decision you have to make.
Okay, hi. First of all, congratulations for your amazing jobs. And my question is, in the beginning, how challenging was to train your bodies for this when you were in the road all the time? Was very hard or was easy?
Are you saying to train the artist or
No, when you're training your bodies.
your bodies?
Yeah.
Oh, your body. I'm sorry.
Your bodies.
Oh, wow. You know what? Full Sail gave me, that's one thing that I will say about this school. It was real. The last month that I was here, all of my labs were at 5 o'clock in the morning. So, and I'm a night owl. I always have been my whole life. But, like she said, you will adapt. Like, once you sort of get in the groove, your body will hopefully respond, and you just get used to it. I don't really think there's, other than just taking care of yourself and being healthy, I don't really think there's anything that can prepare you for working a 40-hour day. I did that the other day, and I was dead on my feet. But it's like I caught that second wind, and it was fine. But there's no amount of preparation for days like those. You just get it done.
I've always wanted the school to get a bus simulator where you, out of certain day out of the week, you rotate people, you have to sleep in the bus, and there's loud music playing in the back and smoke blowing through the, and it shadow,
Potholes in the road.
Well, there's a New Jersey Garden Road simulator. So when you're going up the New Jersey like this, and then there's an I-10 simulator, which is really not fun. You get on a bus, I almost could tell what highway I was on by the bumps. If you get, like, boy, man, we're in New Jersey, this is horrible, my good. But just my sidebar.
I-10's got a rhythm to it. You're Louisiana.
No. So the simulator's coming, from what I hear. Is that right?
That's a good idea. I'm sure Full Sail's probably got one as well.
Hi, I'm going to direct this towards Susan because you are mostly freelance work. I was wondering, since you are freelance, what was your first job and how did you really get out of school and get your foot in the door in the industry, especially being a woman like myself?
Well, as I was mentioned earlier, I started out as a performer in this business, and I'll condense this really quickly. It was kind of a blessing, an accidental career, I call it. I moved to Nashville in the early 90s, and yes, there was electricity back then. But I moved there to be a country star and got a job as a spotlight operator and just developed a fascination with the lighting consoles and with lighting. Being a musician to me was like performing, and I just started playing on this console in this theme park and started getting hired to do lighting. I was meeting these other LDs because I was setting the console up for these other LDs coming through with touring acts, and they saw that kind of potential, like, hey, you're pretty good at this, because this is back in 1994, and literally just started getting hired to do it, and just word of mouth, people, hey, we know this person that can program this, and over the years, the careers just kind of flip-flopped, and I'm kind of in a freelance circle now. I have a lot of repeat clients I work for over and over. I kind of established myself at this point, but it's one of those things, almost just being in the right place at the right time, to be honest with you. It wasn't like I set out to be a lighting designer. I was going to be the next, little Reba McEntire. Now I'm Hannah Montana midlife crisis, but it's okay. But seriously, for me, it was more of just, I was just kind of led to it. It was being in the right place at the right time. So, but I also had the initiative to want to learn as well. So that's why I think I got hired, because I had that eagerness to learn, not just expected to be, because it's not going to get handed to you. Nobody's going to make you learn a console. Your willingness to learn, I think, is a lot of the key to it. Like, somebody sees that potential in you and says, hey, well, come over here and try this. That's kind of how it happened for me.
I have another question from the online stream from Lisa. This question is for Charity. For someone interested in production tour management, what are some good entry-level positions to look for and get experience for those higher levels of management?
That's interesting. I mean, I took a kind of well, I don't think there is a conventional path to getting this particular job because I actually started out in the studio. I would say just pretty much it's really hard to get into production. I don't even know. It's hard. I don't know because this is usually my job is tied to a production manager, and I don't know. I just think it's one of those things. Eagerness to learn is also part of it. So you might come in and you might be setting up dressing rooms. Like you might have just fallen into that, or you're an audio guy or a lighting person or whatever, and talk to your production manager. Tell them that you want to learn about production. You want to learn all the different nuances, and that's everybody kind of starts in some other level of the touring part, or like I said, I came from the studio. I was actually, my first job on the road was a tour manager, like straight out the gate. Had, other than a little bit of common sense and some audio knowledge, I didn't know anything about touring. But I had friends that, said that they'd teach me everything that I needed to know. But I think if you're in this industry and you're on the road doing something else and you want to get to those higher levels of management, it's just about expressing interest. And, when you have those hours off, go hang out in the production office and see what the other people are doing.
I just want to add something quickly, is that currently on Madonna, one of the tour managers started out doing merch. So it's just getting in somehow, and then when you do that, it opens up you're meeting everybody that's doing every possible thing on the tour, and can lead to all those different paths.
Yeah, good point. And I know a lot of production managers back in the day came from the rigging world, actually. Some from truck drivers even. And what's kind of key about that is if you're you don't have to become a rigger to get there. All I'm saying is the common thing to know is that if you learn about the nuts and bolts of a show and you understand how things go in and out of a building and you get your head around logistics and you understand that, getting into production assistant is an extension of that. It's how to help mold all these other things that are happening on the floor out on the arena. But now you're in more of a capacity, to help guide the whole team. But learning all you can about a show.
Yeah.
Doesn't
and what
matter.
Other people do too.
Yeah, what people do. I think it's interesting to. I always do a little training thing with our new employees. I called "Who's the Client?" and I draw the artist, and it's a big block diagram, and it goes. It's huge. All the people connected to a tour. The artist hires a manager, hires a tour manager, hires a guitar tech for the band member, hires, it goes on and on and on. And it's a big block of people, and if you can understand that, to be, in the beginning, it's huge. And then learn about how shows work together and how they go in and out, and have a fun foundation on all that stuff.
I think it's also important that, especially if, you're in your individual departments, it's different for me because I have to deal with everyone, but everybody, it's like being in high school, you stick with your little clique. And I think it's so important to take into consideration what other departments are doing. You don't have to know what how they do what they do, but I think especially when it comes to load-in, all of you have to work together, understanding that this is what the lighting guy needs, and this is what audio needs, and this is what video needs. And I just think it's good, just get to know the people around you. And like I said, if you have questions and you want to learn, that's the best way to do it, not by sticking in your little bubble.
That's a good one.
It's networking.
Yeah.
I'm sure none of you have heard that before.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, you're in a team environment.
Yeah.
And you never forget that. So at any phase of, along the way in the day of a show or production, whatever, you're always thinking about what's going on with other people. If you're an audio guy, you've got to be sensitive to the fact that lighting people have to take up real estate or have to put up their dimmers or whatever. And everybody works together. The cool thing about a show is when it all works together, it's so fun, and it can be so amazing. You think about 20 trucks showing up at an arena, all comes off the truck in 6 a.m., and by 2 a.m., 3 a.m. the next morning, it's back in there, and you've done an incredible show. It's fascinating.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for attending in-house and also online for watching. And a special thanks to Susan, Sean, Leon, and Charity for coming out and spending the time with us. Thank you, guys.